Thank you, Madam President. Well, it's no surprise that we're talking about minimum wage. That was one of the issues that we knew would come before us this session. In fact, as you might recall, it's been in conference committee since last session. And so I think the fact that the conference committee couldn't really get together and we had a lot of other interesting steps along the way here, I think that really points to the fact that perhaps the bill we have before us today, while well-intended, probably doesn't serve its purpose. I know that the supporters of raising the minimum wage are interested in lifting people out of poverty. So am I. I think everyone in this chamber is. But let me tell you a little story about an example in my district, and I'm guessing there's something like this in your district as well. We have a large launderer who takes care of all of the laundry for the hotels, medical establishments. It's a pretty big operation. They did their 1 billionth pound of laundry last year. It's a lot of laundry, folks. But you know, most of the places in my district don't pay minimum wage because if they did pay minimum wage, they couldn't get the employees that they need. And so many of the businesses in my district pay more than minimum wage. They must because the market mandates it, the market dictates it. But this laundry, by the way, does pay minimum wage for some of its workers. And the owner told me about exactly what would happen if we increase the minimum wage. Well, that increases the cost of doing business. In this case, increases the cost of labor, looks like about 50%, maybe even more than that. And so then what are the choices? Well, if you increase your cost of producing, you either have to increase your cost then when you sell that product. So he's thinking he's going to have to go back to the medical providers, the hotels, and see if they can increase their contracts with him. So that will trickle down, or trickle up, I should say, to increased costs for everyone, even the people that we are trying to serve here. So I come back to the bill that we have before us today that's been a year in the making since it was passed out of both bodies, and I realize that we have once again, members, lost a great opportunity. As we saw earlier, just today, there is great bipartisan support for increasing the minimum wage. I supported increasing the minimum wage to the federal conformity, as did many, many members in this body. And by increasing our minimum wage to conform with the feds, it doesn't put our Minnesota businesses at a disadvantage. We know that we're disadvantaged in many ways. Our climate might not be as beautiful as it is today for many days of the year. We know our tax climate is not the most favorable for commerce as well. And yet here we are today with a bill in front of this body to increase minimum wage to beyond the federal level, beyond what our neighboring states do, and once again make Minnesota a less attractive place in which to keep our jobs, retaining our jobs, and bringing in new jobs. I think what we see here is an example, though, of what happens when you have one-party control in St. Paul. Once again, members, we're seeing overreach. So perhaps a needed policy change, something supported bipartisanly, though, has been taken to the extreme. We have one more example of overreach. So yes, poverty is real, and we should look at lifting people out of poverty. But members, this is not the way to do this. The best way to lift people out of poverty is through skills, skill training. Make sure that our young people enter kindergarten ready to learn. Make sure that at the end of third grade, they're reading on grade level. Then we can start graduating kids who have the skills necessary for the jobs today. And beyond that, the best way to lift people out of poverty is not to increase the minimum wage. How many of you would encourage your children or grandchildren to get a job earning minimum wage? Minimum wage is not a living wage. Let's not confuse that. But if we're really interested in helping people live productive lives and earn the wages that they need for good living in Minnesota, the best way we can do that is helping train people for the high-wage, high-demand jobs that are here today and will be here tomorrow. So real problems demand real solutions. But the bill before us today is not the solution to ending poverty.